patrons of the Red Lagoon, to those gathered at the Circle Perilous, and to all the defenders of this broken land, welcome to episode 34 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of April 12th. We are your casual X-Men chat show where we chat everything happening in Marvel's Mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the guy who argues spring break should be the entire month of April, my one and only co-mega mutant, Keegan. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. How you doing?
Good. I'm having a bit of an existential crisis.
Yeah, just a bit.
So this Wednesday, my wife and I get to drive 2.5 hours to Sacramento to buy our latest brand new vehicle. That should be a high moment, right? You should be really excited about a brand new car. But you know what I'm going to be driving?
I have a feeling.
See, I have a son who's 4, right?
Yeah.
And we've got 2 more kids on the way. Twin daughters that I'm very, very excited about. That's 3 car seats. Do you know what vehicle can fit 3 car seats?
A minivan?
Yeah, I'm getting a minivan.
I mean, it could be other cars if you just strap them to the rooftop, but that's usually frowned upon.
I told my wife, I feel like I have 2 days left of like my individual life. And then Wednesday, I just become soccer dad.
Yeah, I feel like, dad of 1 kid, you can still kind of have that individual identity in life. But once you hit 3, you're dad.
Yeah, it's all floating out the window. This week, we are talking about Storm and the Brotherhood number 3. We are talking about, I gotta get my issue numbers, X-Men 21, Captain Marvel 48, and X-23, Deadly Regenesis number 2. If you're keeping track at home, that's 3 issues with 3 different Laura Kinney's, plus some Sins of Sinister stuff.
It's a great week for you, Laura Kinney, numbers-wise.
You know what's even better? We get more of her next week in X. Oh, yeah. Okay, but we get to enjoy her here. The monkey paw curls next week when my dream of Laura Kinney being in every book ends up with her and Benjamin Percy. But at least this week, she's all in good hands to an extent, at least.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. But first, because our recording schedule lately's been off, we've got more Fall of X titles announced. By the time people hear this, it'll have been a few days. But breaking news of sorts. We've got the last 3 Fall of X title descriptions. Are you ready to hear them?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Up first, we have Alpha Flight. Ed Brisson and Scott Godlewski launch a new Alpha Flight limited series this August. The new chapter is written by Ed Brisson, who's obviously done a ton with New Mutants when it first launched in Krakoa, and before that was in X-Men. I don't know why I can't. Was he X-Men Legacy or was he on True X-Men? I don't remember. But he's been in the X Office before as his kind of triumphant return. Right now, he's big on Predator and doing some image work that's getting some big hoopla. Mutant Kind's actions have put Cannon on the offense, and in addition to crafting a new line of Sentinels, they'll assign a government-sponsored team with de-escalating the mutant conflict by any means necessary. But a second Alpha Flight team joins the fight, striking from the shadows. Some more secret and conspiracies are revealed as classic Alpha Flight members and new faces alike become major players on both sides of the war that will define mutant kind. So you've got Guardian, Puck, Snowboard, and Shaman return as a terrestrial Alpha Flight bursts onto the scene, but what schism will pit these heroes against their former teammates Aurora, Northstar, and Nemesis, as well as Aurora's beau Fang? No. We've been wondering, where's your guy? Your favorite Wolverine, which questionable taste, but your favorite Wolverine is going to be in Ed Brisson's Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Where's your hype meter on this book?
Cautious optimism, I'd say. I'm stoked for Fang, Northstar, all that fantastic. Interested to see what's going to go on here, especially because it's, pitting these heroes against their former teammates. So how is that going to look? But yeah,
I do like the idea of a team not connected to the core conflict here in America, because America is the center of Marvel Universe to a huge extent, not centered on the island of Krakoa and their actual internal politics, but instead seeing a microcosm of that conflict in Canada, and we're going to follow both sides of it essentially. It's a pretty
Yeah.
cool premise to me. I'm excited about it that way. Uh, Franklin's Herald, someone in our kind of comic talk circle, someone I've tried to get on the show. I'm hoping we can get them on for Alpha Flight #1 when it comes around, because they are the biggest Alpha Flight fan I know, the biggest North Star fan I know. They're very excited about it. Apparently, the return of Nemesis to them was like the thing that sealed it as an actual Alpha Flight book. So that's got me a little more excited. I'm definitely excited to see what's going on here. I will say, like, the Ed Brisson issues of New Mutants, to me, I read just waiting for the Jonathan Hickman issues to go, because they were doing the staggered release where Hickman wrote like every third or fourth issue and Brisson was kind of filling them in.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I like his stuff. I'm excited. I think you're cautiously optimistic was a great way to phrase it.
Yeah. I always want the books to be good, you know?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping they're all amazing, of course. And I'll be honest, there's a very little I'm like unexcited about here in Fall of X. It seems like a pretty baller lineup.
Yeah.
The second book we found out about was the premise for Children of the Vault. Didn't quite go the way I thought it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It is Dennis Camp and Luca Maresca, who are both new names to me. I've heard really great things about Camp's 20th Century Men, but I've not read it yet. It's his Marvel Comics debut, and Maresca is drawing the Photon Monica Rambeau book, which I am reading. The art doesn't particularly like jump out at me, but I don't remember being offensive either. The post-human species is seen as the next stage of evolution, superior to mutants in every way. Their motives and the existential threat they represent has been brewing in the pages of both Jonathan Hickman and Jerry Dugan's X-Men run, and after the dramatic events at this year's Hellfire Gala, they're unleashed from their virtual prison with a new mission. Former enemies become brothers in arms as Cable and Bishop team up to fight this crucial war against the Children of the Vault, all on their own. The Children of the Vault are back, and they are determined to be humanity's salvation, but not everything is as it seems, and every utopia has its costs. What is the motivation behind these highly evolved beings gifting the world with their advanced technology? And how do Bishop and a now Orcus-captured Cable figure into their plans? So, again, I feel like some of these premises give away a little too much of what's Fall of X going to be all about.
Yeah, I feel like they told us a little bit too much behind the scenes stuff as far as Fall of X and the Hellfire Gala, with a few of the solicitations, but this one especially.
Well, and once you piece together dots between them, I feel like it really gives away the through line. But that said, I love the chemistry between Bishop and Cable. It's interesting they emphasize the former enemies here, because it's not like this is going to be the first time they've worked together. But I do really enjoy their kind of love-hate bromance that they've got going on, and I'm excited to see it play out here. The Children of the Vault straight up apparently giving humanity like post-human tech.
It's interesting.
It seems like that's going to be a hard thing to put back in the bottle, back in the can. Like,
yeah.
Once that's out there, but cool premise. I'm down. But we're going to throw that one to the side and talk about the most exciting one, the one that proves that I'm a genius.
Of course, naturally.
I'm wearing my The Genius Larry Poffo shirt by actual complete coincidence, but Uncanny Spider-Man,
yes,
is written by Cy Spurrier, drawn by Lee Garbett, which should be amazing. If you didn't read Death of Doctor Strange, absolutely stellar, gorgeous art. Going to be perfect for this book. Introducing Kurt Wagner, the Uncanny Spider-Man, escaping the turmoil of Fall of X in a flash of smoke and brimstone. It's time for Nightcrawler to play the swashbuckling, devil-may-care hero he's always been destined to be. a potential new lover, battling some of the most iconic members of Spidey's rogue gallery, and saving civilians, mutant and human alike. Kurt is having the time of his life, but it's not all fun and games. Nightcrawler will also be a lone soldier on the front lines of mutant-kind's upcoming war with Orcus. Throughout the saga, he'll also confront a long-simmering mystery surrounding his mother, Mystique, as Spurrier's bold transformation of the character approaches a startling climax. So I will specify, this is a 5-issue mini. All 3 of these are 5-issue minis. So it seems they announced the ongoings first and then the minis. That said, this day and age, if something's announced as an ongoing, you assume it's a 12-issue maxi, and then there's the 5 or 6-issue minis. Nothing seems to be a true ongoing anymore.
That's accurate.
This moved way up my list. This is, of the things that aren't already going, because obviously I love Red and Immortal, but of the things announced, this is number 1 with a bullet.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
It's just such a cool idea. You know, when we were wildly speculating and you threw this out as kind of like your idea, I was hopeful. I thought it could happen, but I was also like, I don't want to get my hopes up too much because I feel like it's not going to be that. And the fact that it is just awesome. It's so stoked.
And I feel like Cy Spurrier writing swashbuckling, happy Kurt is so earned at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's dragged him to his absolute lowest point. And I've seen people argue online that it should be a different writer because that's all he knows how to do is write him when he's down. But if anything, him tearing him down to this point is what has me excited to see him write that upswing again.
Absolutely. I mean,
this game was so good.
It's the idea, it's the stored energy, right? He's been pulling the bowstring back this whole time and he's about to let it go.
Yep.
That's the way I'm hoping it goes. That's the way I'm viewing it. I think he's been building up to this, as you said, earning it, and he's about to flex his muscles.
This is gonna be a fantastic era of X-Men. If only for this.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
And that cover, I'm gonna transpose the cover on the screen right now. But did you see it? You saw it, right? If not, in the notes, you'd scroll down in the article. It's there. It is fantastic. I love the costume. So good. I want to know how you fit that tail in the costume. I feel like that is quite the getting dressed. If you have to take a piss, I'm not envying him at all. But
yeah, I will say I do love the costume. I think it looks awesome. The marriage of Nightcrawler's costume with the Spider-Man look is so cool. I'm really a big fan of the spider symbol that looks like the shoulder pieces to his costume.
Oh, I mean, it's really funny to me that we just had End of Spider-Verse and all these, like, oh, look at this new spider, and it's out of the X office that we get the best new Spider-Man in years, and he's just a 616 dude. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Do you have any new thoughts on Fall of X as a whole that we've got? I know we talked about how they've given away a little too much of the bag.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited that they've given away enough that I'm feeling very, very confident in my initial called shot of Fall of X is really about Fall of Xavier.
Oh, it's completely, at this point, it's the fall of the Council and the fall of Xavier himself, for sure. Yeah. Krakoa is safe, I think. We're going to get into it once we talk Storm and the Brotherhood, because I think we have confirmation of something within the story that we can talk about that foreshadows something I think will be really fun. But on just what we've had actually announced of Fall of X, I want to say I think Destiny of X may have been the strongest overall year of X-Men content we've ever gotten. I'm going to get some flack because even within the Krakoa fans, a lot of people prefer the Hickman era still. I think that the 3 people kind of steering the ship through Destiny put on the best year of X-Men content we've ever had as an overall. Like, there's been individual books I've definitely liked more, but this was such an cohesive year, going Going from the Destiny relaunch into Judgment Day into Sins of Sinister has been great, and I think the Fall of X announcements so far have the potential to keep that going.
Yeah, absolutely. I am such a big fan of this. I love the Hickman stuff. The Hickman stuff is what got me here. But I really do think that this trio has just done something really amazing.
I do feel like from the way the solicitations are leading it, I don't think that trio is in charge of Fall.
Mm-mm.
I think more likely Dugan is at least promoted above Psy. I'm wondering if Ewing is taking the Genesis War while Dugan is handling the Orcus fight, and Gillen is just handling the collapse of the council, and if they're less interwoven, and if Fall of X is really how everything's falling apart all over the place. But I do wonder if Psy is stepping away, because him switching back to a mini and them explicitly calling this the climax of his story with Nightcrawler. And it seems like he's been getting announced for a lot of DC books. I have really high hopes for Fall of X, but I hope this isn't the beginning of the end for what has been a golden age for me.
Right. I totally get that. And it might even be that however Uncanny Spider-Man ends is something that'll lead to the next thing that Cy is doing in the office, but they don't want to announce it yet because we got to get to this climax first, because he might shift into something brand new.
I hope that's the case. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
I am just throwing out there, Fall of X, we know, was originally touted in that all of our upcoming events calendar as an event, as with Summer of Symbiotes, and then those were revealed to be like publishing lines.
Mm-hmm.
Gillen, Ewing, and Spurrier all were writing their ongoings throughout Destiny, even through Judgment Day, to set up Sins of Sinister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing out there the guess, and we'll see if it happens. So I think in Fall of X, they're setting up smaller X-Men crossovers that'll probably all play out across 2024, between the Genesis stuff, the Orcus stuff, and the Quiet Council stuff. I don't think we're gonna get one big X crossover. I think we're gonna have probably the sinister sized stuff, but we're gonna get 3 events that will tie together a few books instead of another giant X of Swords style, every single book's involved. That's just my gut feeling from the way these announcements are. They just feel disparate enough where they're saying like, "Oh yeah, the Hellfire Gala is fucking. It's the end of like synergy. The mutants are gonna hate each other and like fall apart." But I think it's gonna play out through a couple smaller crossovers, probably early next year. But
yeah, that would make sense to me.
all right, you want to jump into some books?
Let's jump into some books.
Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants #3, written by Al Ewing, drawn by Alessandro Vitti. The narration is written as an epic poem in the cadence of Lodos Logos' dialogue. John, Ironfire, and Cora are discussing Sinister's plan to revive a new version of Storm and whether they can trust either Sinister or the new Aurora. They head inside the World Farm, now treated as Arakko itself, where Sinister has created a new 5, consisting of Cora, Old Oda, Bloodroot, Krana, and telepath Genus. Genus uses Ironfire's memories of Storm instead of an actual backup, so she's reborn but with no actual memories. Emma Frost's attack reaches the World Farm, including her 4 Chimera, High Summers, Lord Haler, Hot Claw, and Sage Advisor. Not to be outdone by Beast in the regular timeline, Emma has her own Megazord, which is a giant robot of herself in dominatrix gear and wielding a giant whip as she pilots her molten hot tub in the robot's red diamond forehead. In the chaos of the fight, Sinister tries to get in the vault inside the Mora vault, but Ironfire denies him access. The Iraqis seem to be losing, but New Storm absorbs power from Cora again, and they manage to destroy the Emazord and her forces, though the memoryless Storm doesn't know how to shield herself from the radiation of space, and she dies in Ironfire's arms. She assures John she's not afraid of a life that ends. And Sinister snidely says, "Funny thing, I'm not afraid either," and shoots John in the back of the head. So every week I've been saying this is the best issue yet. This is the best issue yet. not the best issue.
You don't think so?
I enjoyed this a lot. I thought it had a lot of great Ewing touches. This did not move the needle for me anywhere near as much as the last like 3 straight.
Wow. I find that very interesting. I thought this was the best one yet for sure.
Interesting. Sell me on it.
I had the most.
I don't mean
fun
that snidely.
reading.
I just mean like I
No.
want to hear you be passionate about it.
No, I genuinely I had the most fun reading it. Like the new, Sinister creating a new 5, them using just someone's memories of someone else as resurrection protocol instead of a Cerebro backup was interesting. Just the idea of all of these super chimera essentially that Emma has done. Tengen Toppa, Emma Frost, the mech is just incredible. That's the thing is like what it really comes down to is so much of this was Keegan core that I couldn't help but love it because
I hear you.
You say Megazord and you're not wrong with that assessment, but it's more anime mech than Power Rangers mech.
Oh, totally. I just don't have this would have been a great episode to have Owen on because I feel like you and Owen could have like really zoned in on all of the like
you definitely you don't have that same reference lexicon that like we do because you aren't as into that. But it was giving Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, Gunbuster, Mobile Suit Gundam. That's what it was giving for me. And because that is like my favorite kind of anime is mech anime, I think that's part of what really sold me on it.
I hear you.
That alone, I was just like, yes, Al Ewing, yes.
Don't get me wrong. This was nowhere near like an issue that like took me out of the crossover.
Yeah,
I just feel like we were building so much the last few issues that this didn't keep that build for me. It just was another great issue.
For sure.
I still would have given it a 4 or a 5 depending like on the scale. Like, it was still a really great issue. You brought up the Super Chimera, which were all four people combos because we talked about how we only have the 1-5 combo, and Sinister gave the spiel on how you can never do 6, but they're all 4 pretty cool. So Hot Claw is Sisters Feral and Thorn combined with the liquid metal of Mercury and the Hot Knives power of Pete Wisdom. There was Loud Hailer, who combines Lotus Logos's voice with Siren's volume, the flexibility of Random, and the brute force of Frenzy. And then High Summers combines Cyclops, Havoc, Vulcan, and Living Monolith, who all have similar but slightly different energy powers, which essentially creates a perpetual energy loop and just an unending source of power. So, might not have been the best issue yet, probably the best Chimera watch, because all 4 of her like assistants are all like fucking next level awesome Chimera. And then we get reference to an Orphan Madrix that we talk every week about the potential of having like revisiting cross minis or whatever. And that feels like a tidbit to have someday be explored because that is a really cool premise too. The Kinky Megazord. Since you talked about it, and did Emma die in it? Like, is Emma off the board already before we head into the last 2 issues?
I don't think so. I think she's still, and only because it was such an explicit pull from anime, and like no one dies like that in anime. They always come back, somehow, some way. So I feel like she's definitely gotta still be kicking. Maybe her hot tub floating in space has like, an emergency system in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the floating head thing. I don't know if that's an anime trope or just a like kids cartoon trope, but the head getting blown off and then floating through space, like you can picture it. That's a thing. That's a trope. Can we talk about the weight of Storm's feat here? Because it's essentially just a repeat of her feat in issue 2.
True.
So in a way, it's kind of anticlimactic that she does the same thing again. She draws from Korra, and but it also is kind of a perfect. I wrote distillation in my note, and I don't know if that's the right word, but basically, it's the purest version of that feat because last issue she'd had hundreds of years of training. She used these big magical incantations, and she pulled off the thing. And this time, because she had no memories, she basically had just been born moments before. She did the exact same thing on pure instinct instead. She draws the power from Korra and creates like the ultimate blast of storm energy imaginable. And they managed to make it not feel like the same Z, even though they literally had done it one issue before. 2 weeks ago, because of the way these aren't coming out in the same order every month, we
Mm-hmm.
just saw her do this, and yet my jaw still dropped. It was still really cool to see. And I
I,
feel like
I
that's the kind of shit Ewing does so well, is he can put stakes on the simplest, most predictable thing.
I think so, and I think part of it that makes this one so cool is it recontextualizes the first time, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it's not that she did all of this studying and all that kind of stuff. It feels very much, to me, it read very similar to I hate having to reference this, but when Doc Ock was in Peter, right? Like in
Yeah.
his body, and he realized, oh no, Peter's been holding back this whole time. Like
Yeah.
this whole time.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that, right? It's like, oh no, like literally no memory storm can just kind of figure that out. So has she been holding back that hard this entire time?
Yeah. She really is the coolest character in all of comics, isn't
Oh
she? She's
yeah.
such a badass.
Oh. But yeah, that's how it made it feel to me. It recontextualizes all of her other feats into being like, not only is she this powerful on instinct alone, but she's a master strategist before that.
Absolutely. All right, maybe you're winning me over. Maybe this is the best. No, no. Last issue was still my favorite of them, but this was a really strong issue.
You know what? You know what? I'll take it as a win anyways because I've explained enough to make it move the needle a little bit for you, and I'll take that.
Do you remember way back? It wasn't one of our first few episodes though, or maybe we only looked back on it. Maybe it was even before we started the podcast. Immortal X-Men #3. There was Destiny revealed all of the potential timelines.
Right. Yes.
So one, like this finalized because they referenced multiple times that we were in the storm system, and there was on the board there was now Arrow, Judgment Day, Arrow, the Empire of the Red Diamond, which is Emma's reality, and then Arrow, the storm system. So
Mhm.
clearly that was referencing Sins of Sinister. So when we revert and we go back to Judgment Day, there's only two possible timelines from that point on. There is now into Judgment Day, into Nimrod Extinction Event, which is what I believe they're going to try to lead us to believe is the future that we're going to see. One other one on the board, now into Judgment Day, into a new Krakoa, which is what I think is what we're actually headed into. So that's where you were talking about how you're getting confident that Fall of X isn't the end of Krakoa. I think you're right. I think it's the end of the current structure of Krakoa.
Yeah,
Quiet Council
definitely.
will be gone, which one of the books even references literally says there once was 12 in the Quiet Council, now it's just Xavier, making it like explicit before the event even starts that the era is going to have no traditional Quiet Council. But I think we're going to see a whole lot of intrigue in Kieran Gillen's book where we just figure out what the new political structure of Krakoa is. But I do love that we had these seeds planted over a year ago where we basically had it spelled out for us on a board. Like, these are the possibilities. You're only going to see a couple of them. And we now know, well, yeah, we're going to see these few.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I've been really enjoying it, and I remember us talking about those timelines and being like, "Oh, I'd love to see this. Oh, I'd love to see this. Oh, I hope they show us this." And now we're getting them.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, the
this
misdirects
office
from way back, Empire of the Red Diamond, because everyone's like, "Oh, of course that's going to be Sins of Sinister because Sinister has his red diamond," even though the Empire of the Red Diamond has actually nothing to do with Sinister himself.
Yeah, it's. I mean, she literally climbs in a molten hot tub in a diamond. It's all Emma, baby.
Oh yeah, I will say this one's for the anime fans out there. What's up, anime fans? I thought it was a really clever play on LCL Liquid from Evangelion for hers to just be a hot tub. I know that means nothing to you, Rod, but it means something to the weebs out there.
So of our like 4 regular viewers, you're talking to Owen.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up? Oh, appreciate you.
we gotta get a bag of picks recorded in here soon.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the new 5 at all? You got old Oda, who I want to meet at this point. I want to learn more about old Oda, who produces the egg. Korra. I like that they explicitly point out they're using a blood sample from Hope to make it clear this isn't some ploy by Sinister. That they do have like the purity of the 5 there. That he's not planting something. Bloodroot, who's roughly the Exodus equivalent, apparently. Krana, who's like a reality warper who's taken Proteus's place. And then, like we talked about, Genus. I assume most of these people aren't born yet, although the Iraqi live so long. I'm telling you, I want to meet Oda. I want to meet Oda when we go back to the main timeline.
Same.
Al Ewing, give me an issue of Red dedicated just to who is old Oda and what is she doing with these eggs.
Yes. That's what we need to know. These are the pressing questions.
Ironfire, your boy, dead, gone already, wiped off the board. We are losing players left and right. We also
really
only
are.
have 2 issues. We only have 2 issues left.
Yeah.
So Ewing is done with this event. I hadn't thought about it in those terms yet.
Uh-huh.
We have a Psy issue, and then we have Gillen's wrap up. This was Al Ewing's swan song on the Sins of Sinister's universe.
I want more.
Can I be real?
Yeah.
Probably X-Men Red was my favorite book of last year, like ongoing. Mm-hmm. He might have been the weakest. He might have had the weakest contributions to this event.
Interesting.
Maybe, like on the whole.
I think I'm gonna just disagree with you on that one. I think it's because Ewing's references and things that he pulled from are so specifically my shit that it appealed to me specifically on a lot of levels. And
was there as much anime before? Wasn't it mostly just Star Wars for the first 2?
Yeah, dog. But like of the 6
of the Star Wars
I have, one is Star Wars and one is anime.
That's fair. That's fair.
Actually, 2 anime, 1 Star Wars. So like that's 90% of my 75% of my personality. The other 25% is wrestling. Like,
fair. That's fair. I didn't mean that as a slam on him by any means anyways. No, I just think that tells you the caliber of this event, that Ewing turning in what is essentially more X-Men Red issues can somehow be, to me, the weakest part of it. Just tells you the pedigree of this event and the 3 writers. This has been a baller event.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's actually cool that, like, whereas you view it that way and I say, no, I disagree. I think that Ewing has done some of the stronger work. It's like, this event is that good that we can both be like, oh, this person was the best, clearly, and be talking about someone else, you know?
Well, and that I don't think either of us is upset with the other because we're also in love with that other person. Like,
right.
The difference between best and weakest between these 3 is such a slim margin, and like they're all turning in stellar work. It's
it's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And then you got Percy 10 feet underground.
Exactly. Just.
Do you have any final thoughts before we jump into X-Men 21?
No. Let's get on into X-Men, I suppose.
All right. Written by Jerry Duggan and drawn by Stefano Caselli, it opens with a data page quote from Cyclops, once again advocating for wiping out the Brood completely. The issue actually opens with Forge and Monet using some cool technological hijinks that they developed off-panel last issue, maybe between issues, we don't know when they developed it, to bring Nowhere back to their universe. Jean fights Nightmare over control of the Brood, and he foreshadows both fall of X and the fall of her marriage. Though whether his premonitions can be trusted is always up in the air. She locks him away with the nightmares of all the souls he's ever tormented. She orders Magic to reunite them with the X-Men. On board the ship, Talon and Sync figure out that the refugees are infected, immediately ruining Nightmare's plan anyways, and Sync uses Polaris' power to dump all the refugees in space. He's clearly consumed by guilt, despite them being unsavable. A data page reveals Scott has argued to kill the Brood with the other war captains for a while, and Bishop entered his full beast era with the dumbest suggestion ever. We'll get to it. And when both Jean's team and Forge's team arrive, they receive a message from Psylocke asking for help over in Captain Marvel. To which Scott immediately suggests, let's go kill the Brood once and for all. Brew, obviously, protests, and Jean backs him up, but Scott insists, no mercy for the Brood. Jean calls him out on suggesting literal genocide, which ruffles his feathers, since he just sees them as a threat to all life. They have a terse exchange, and Jean telekinetically rips Scott's visor off of his head. He stares her dead in the eyes and reiterates, I think wiping the Brood out is a great idea. She rebukes about how very human of a stance that is. Jean and Brew decide to gather the Brood that will listen to him and take them to safety while Cyclops leads the team to Captain Marvel's team. Forge, before leaving, psychically lets Jean know about Nowhere, suggesting it is a nice hidden home for the good Brood. Jean and Brew deliver them to safety, and she suggests to Brew that he finally gets some sleep. Is this crossover finally going to cross over?
I honestly am amazed that it's like, hey, this crossover is going to cross over, especially in Captain Marvel 49. By the way, this week you better read Captain Marvel 48.
I was going to make a joke about it when we do
Yeah.
the recap of that one. I didn't know that. Reading this, I thought I was about to read the crossover and be done with the Brood. I was so bummed when I realized that there's still another month before I can be Brood free.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's impressive that Edge got to sign with Marvel too, you know?
Sorry, I'm a new Brood guy. Matt and Jeff Hardy are my Brood. And it's not really the Brood without Gangrel. I still can't believe Edge has done Brood Edge like 4 times and they haven't brought Gangrel back just for like a single entrance even.
It's disgusting.
This is a WWE conversation for those who somehow follow us and don't follow wrestling. There was this really good wrestler named Edge who was partnered with an even better but less highly rated wrestler Christian as the Brood. They were managed by a vampire dude named Gangrel. And then eventually they dropped the vampire gimmick and just became 2 dude bros. But Edge unretired after like getting a back injury that they thought ended his career. So he's like 45 now. But every time he's in like a serious feud, he comes out as Brood Edge. So he's like dark and brooding. Not really a vampire anymore.
No,
but
just kind of probably listens to something in the way from Nirvana.
Yeah. So he's Batman. They have not the bad Batman, not the good Batman that people actually like. But he's
what this bad Batman is, but okay.
My reference to them not bringing Gangrel back is I just feel like if you're going to reference his creation, because he created the whole gimmick, they should invite him back to like walk out with him with the puffy shirt and like he full on inhabited the vampire. I don't think he wore fake teeth. I think he actually had his teeth filed and like all kinds of crazy shit. Anyways, back to X-Men. Yes. This was my favorite issue from Dugan for a while, which is saying a lot when it involves the Brood.
Yeah, because I hate the Brood, but I was loving what they were doing here.
This issue was so good, and it's not what you usually think of as Dugan's wheelhouse. He's usually the sci-fi guy. And he literally, again, dumped the sci-fi stuff to off-panel. I'm so mad that they did this whole Forge and Monet story And they didn't bother to show us the actual fun part. They just tell you, hey, they came up with some wacky scheme to teleport it, and we're supposed to believe them. What part? Why am I reading a comic if they're not going to show me anything?
Yeah, like honestly, like let me see Forge cook. You know, like if we're gonna take this many, issues just for the damn thing to cross over, you can give me a few extra pages of Forge.
Yep. It makes it feel unearned. Like, what was the point? I mean, obviously the point was so Brew had somewhere to take his tiny fraction of them to hide or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't understand why they had to go interdimensional to find it. But whatever. Put that aside, because I'm supposed to be complimenting it, and I jumped right to what I hate. I love that both Gene and Scott are complete douche knuckles in this issue. And they're fighting over something complex enough where even though they're both making the wrong choice and being horrible people, the problem is complex enough that it could be argued that they're both in the right. But they're both making their arguments both make sense.
Yeah.
Scott saying, hey, the only way that they're not gonna kill all life is if we hypnotize them, essentially. Like,
yeah.
They don't have sentience. You can't genocide them, is his argument. And her argument is, well, if they can be given a good life, even if it's through Brew, like, mind controlling them, then we owe it to them to give them that good life. And then if they start attacking, we do what we always do and we save them. I on that level, side with Gene. But then the whole ripping his visor thing off is fucking domestic abuse of the max. Like, to take away a handicapped person's
right
like, device and just smacking around your if Fall of X involves them breaking up again, I'm here for it. Like, I love that. I love that drama.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to a certain extent, you know, Gene's whole argument of like, oh, well, then, you know, we just try again. And then if they get out of line again, we stop them again. You know, that's just Batman letting the Joker kill everyone and then slaps him on the wrist, sends him to Arkham until he breaks out a month later and then kills everyone again.
True.
You know, I think that my Jason Todd side is showing in the fact that I think Cyclops is more right than Gene, but that's just me.
I think for me, if I was to apply real world like morality to it, which
yeah, okay, yeah,
which I feel like to have this conversation you have to, and then you have to step away and have the in comic book conversation.
Yeah.
If I was applying real world, like, to me, the Brood are more equivalent to like a force of nature, like a non-sentient life form here. Like, say there was like when we have like a varmint that gets introduced somewhere they don't belong and they start just like wrecking it. Unfortunately, a lot of times humanity's move is to wipe out that varmint, when really the right move is to eradicate them from like the main one is like when they get cross continents, like when you bring like oh no, all the rats got to Australia, and now Australia's covered with these rats that are carrying diseases that the Australian wildlife can't handle. You eradicate them from the area, but you still find a way to like send them back where they came from, because like, oh, it's not their fault they ended up there.
Yeah.
Like, the Brood are from a dying universe, or a dead universe, right? Like,
they no longer have a habitat to go to where they are not causing immense harm on others.
Yeah. Is there a solution of, like, with everything else the Krakoans can make, like, can they make like a different source of sustenance for the Brood, isolate them to like a pocket dimension of some sorts, and like to me it seems like if you start applying comic book logic, there probably is a solution other than wiping them out.
That's fair.
You have to go another layer of comic book explanation, and like Marvel Comics is never going to give a permanent solution to the Brood.
No.
In either direction, positive or negative, because they are a cash cow villain that they love to revisit, honestly, a little too often. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, neither Scott nor Jean are going to get what they want. They're going to half-ass, like, they're going to push back the main brood. Brew's going to get to have his people, and the real conflict is going to be whatever fallout Jean and Scott have, realistically, because
Absolutely.
Marvel's not going to do away with a villain that everybody apparently loves.
Why though? Why do they love them? It's boring.
Do you remember just a few shant months ago when there was a really epic scene that we all were like, that is Cyclops. That is who Cyclops is. Where a god, a celestial passing judgment on the world, tried to pass judgment on Cyclops. And he scoffed. The only person who can judge me is my wife, Jean Grey, the woman I love, the woman who could decide everything about me. And now he's like super butthurt because she dares to question his judgment publicly.
I mean, to quote Nick Fury, I recognize that the council has made a decision, but seeing as it's a stupid ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
I just I get so much joy out of when they are a shitty couple, but it is
Yeah.
really funny that in comic book time, this is probably only weeks after Judgment Day, right? Because
Right.
that's the day after compressed time. So he tells a god, like, only my wife can judge me. And then now he's all mad because she's judging him for wanting to wipe out a race of alien bugs.
But hey, it's gonna be good reading for all of the Emma and Scott fans coming up.
Absolutely.
Because I'll
They have.
tell you,
I do enjoy their chemistry better. Like
yeah,
they actually have chemistry. Like I don't know. To me, every real couple that's a successful, like, endearing couple I know, they banter. They
yeah.
they banter. They've got a sense of humor with each other. They tease each other. He's
Which
got
is
that with Emma.
exactly why Peter Parker should be with Mary Jane.
Or Black Cat. They've got good.
That too.
As much as I don't like the current run, I have always liked their chemistry together.
No,
Peter
sure.
Parker just needs a snarky foil as a girl. I just want them to actually let him move forward with his life. I don't care if it's with MJ or not. I just want Peter Parker to be allowed to actually have happiness.
I agree with that.
Back to X-Men, though.
Yeah, let's go back.
Can we talk about Bishop's stupid plan?
What was it? Let's make a clone of Wanda, but not put her brain in, so that it's just a
shell,
a thoughtless shell with godlike powers.
Mm-hmm. And then have her say no more brood.
Yeah,
because that was so effective the last time she used her powers that way.
Yeah.
I like that they have Magic immediately call out what a beast-like plan that is.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Bishop, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
you're from the future. You're supposed to have seen how bad that kind of plan is.
Right. He's supposed to be able to benefit and look back and be like, man, the people from the past sure are stupid for thinking that way. Yet he has the dumbest idea. Like, I don't know, man. That just okay, Bishop.
All right, well, I'm done talking about the Brood for the day, so let's move on to Captain Marvel 48. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Written by Kelly Thompson, drawn by Sergio Davila. This is the real Brood showdown, but I only wrote that in there because it was going to be the joke where I pull the rug out and like reveal that there's yet another issue coming. But since you already spoiled that, Captain Marvel semi-sacrificed herself last issue. She's hooked up to the Brood Emperor while her team fights around her. When Binary realizes the sacrifice she made to save her last issue, she's heartbroken. Psylocke gets Psylocke gets stabbed pretty good. Rogue and Hazmat realize that they're losing, so they decide, maybe we shouldn't just hang out in the escape ship, and they decide to go join the fight. Captain Marvel has a psychedelic fight inside her head against the Brood. Binary goes full berserker, giving the team time to regroup with Rogue and Hazmat when they show up, but she passes out, seemingly dies, reunites with Captain Marvel in the Brainscape place where they her ghost, I guess, helps Carol break free, and that's the final panels. Apparently, the crossover is next issue. I am so brooded out.
Yeah, I'm really over the Brood. 2 issues in a week is a rough one too.
This is the second time they've done this crossover. I don't
Yeah,
understand how they couldn't schedule it so there was at least some breathing. Like,
and like I don't want to say that the issue was a bad issue because I don't think it was a bad book, but it certainly was a book that just happened. Like,
I like the way Kelly Thompson writes a lot of it. She writes a better Rogue and Gambit than the Rogue and Gambit miniseries we're reading. She writes a
yeah,
good. I guess she writes a good Spider Woman, although she wasn't in this issue very much. Binary seems interesting. Good use of Psylocke. But this issue did not feel like it needed to be a whole issue. Like, why wasn't this the issue with the X-Men crossover and just wrap it up? This is a 7-part story in Captain Marvel plus the 3 issues of X-Men. It just feels like a whole lot of Brood. That's 10 issues of Brood. We're only in April, and that's all this year so far. We are.
I feel like if you look at what this issue does and what the other issues have been doing, we could really cut this down to a total 6 or 7 issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this issue could have just been cut down.
Well, kind of ended right where it began, except Carol. Like, I don't think you needed a whole issue of Carol breaking free.
Right.
Speaking of books that spend way too long on tiny plots, though, you ready to jump into X-Men or X-32 Deadly Regenesis #2?
X-23 #2, Deadly Regenesis Boogaloo. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that is a mouthful of a title, but it is about my favorite character, so I'm going to try to keep a positive-ish spin on it.
Yeah.
Written by Erica Schultz, drawn by Edgar Salazar, it opens with a 7-page flashback on Haymaker. They were a gym rat dreaming of being an MMA fighter, and their brother Drew did crime stuff to pay for their training. Foreshadowing. In the present, they brawl with Laura on the streets of New York, saying they've waited a long time for this. Kimura watches and worries that Haymaker can't do the job. They stab Laura in the gut and announce, "I followed my brother that night," sending us back to flashback, where they saw Laura kill an entire warehouse under control of the facility, including Drew. Laura feels guilty and just takes the beating for a few minutes until she passes out. They load her in the trunk of a car, deliver her to a gleeful Chimera who says she's going to help Laura discover her full potential. Okay. I want this to come across like I fully support people using the pronouns of their choice. I'm not trying to dip my toes into controversy here by any means. How did Laura know to use they pronouns the second she meets them?
Hmm.
Okay. I have no issue with it. I think it's cool that there's a non-binary character like just thrown in and like never referenced, never made a thing of. It just I feel like the safer the better move there is to just have Laura never reference like a pronoun so that she never misgenders them, but also you're not left wondering how did she know? Because she never uses they with anyone else when she first meets them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky. Maybe that's just my neurodivergent like. Well, but that doesn't make any sense. How would she know?
I mean, I didn't notice it at all. That didn't even cross my mind. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think she does it at least once. I think twice. Like, see, they're in pain. They are suffering, and it to me it just was such an overt like, oh, that's cool that Laura in 2002 because it's taking place in the past. Like, oh, she was so progressive back then because that was before most people were on the non-binary acceptance train or whatever. And then I'm like, well, but how did she know? I'm like, that's like the leaps my brain took was
Right.
at first like, oh, that's cool, and then wait, but how does she know? Anyways, like the first issue, nothing bad here. I think Schultz has a good voice for Laura. It just feels so inconsequential, and it's such a weird time period to place this book, and it just feels like ground we had tread plenty in every other X-23 book of, oh, she did bad things, and it's kind of what we talk about other Wolverine that like
True.
can never escape their past and has to constantly be forced to relive the pain of the pain they caused.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not compelling necessarily, I guess.
You talked me out of having this in Around the Marvel Universe, and I am glad. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it is worth talking about. Is
Mhm.
it is it good by any means? I don't think so. Is it necessary reading for anyone? I really don't think so so far. Like I guess it's introducing a new nemesis, but then you're left with the problem you have every time you have a book that takes place way in the past and introduces a new villain of, well, if this was a new nemesis that they got years and years ago, why haven't we seen them fight them before? Like where's Haymaker been if they're this big arch nemesis of Loris? But I don't know. It's fine. It is like the quintessential it's fine book. Once it
Yeah.
becomes a trade, if you can grab the trade at your library and binge it when you've got an extra afternoon, sure.
Yeah, I see no reason to tell like anyone like you need to be reading this live.
Yeah, agreed. As someone who claims Laura as my favorite X-Men character, maybe my favorite Marvel character, I could totally take or leave this book so
Yeah.
far.
Exactly.
Um, the art's fine. Art's
Yeah.
cool.
Art's cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have much.
Yeah, I don't got much else
I
on
don't
it
think
either.
Kimura is that compelling of a villain, and Haymaker had a cool setup here, I guess, but pretty cliche. The like, oh, you killed my brother, the thug, so now I have to get vengeance is one of
Yeah.
the oldest stories in comics.
It's like having a dead parents in Dungeons and Dragons. Like
Absolutely,
it's just it's everything everywhere.
yeah. All right. I didn't have any around the Marvel universe this week. Do you have any around the Marvel? Was there anything like referenced in other books or anything?
Nothing that I've caught.
Okay. I was on vacation, so I admit I haven't made it through my whole Marvel stack, but I don't think I have anything that could be a crossover. If I discover anything that I missed, we'll talk about it next week. Sorry.
Yeah,
Speaking of next week, it is a
it's
stacked,
stacked.
stacked week. I mean, yeah, some of it could probably be relegated to around the Marvel Universe if we want it to be, but some of it's big stuff, like Nightcrawlers 3. The end of the main part of the crossover. I think Dominion is going to be more than an epilogue, though. I think that's going to be the real climax. But
I
anyways, we
think
have
so too.
Nightcrawlers 3. We have New Mutants Lethal Legion number 2, which Bishop's War College number 3, the Excellent number 2, and Extreme X-Men number 5, which are 4 of the like holdover. Oh, we're between eras miniseries we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
So those will all probably be brief-ish conversations. I think you are enjoying Bishop more than I am.
Hmm.
I am definitely enjoying Excellent more than you are, so I'll probably have
Yep.
lots of raving to do about Excellent. I think we were both just fine with New Mutants. Extreme X-Men will probably be around the Marvel Universe, but we'll see. And then the monkey paw curling. Colossus and X-23 Wolverine join X-Force.
Look, I the last issue of Wolverine was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was good. Out of all of the Ben Benjamin Percy issues we've been forced to read for this podcast,
Yeah.
it was good. It was
So,
one good issue.
but hey, I'm thinking is the
Maybe he
most
found maybe he
recent.
found some talent.
Yeah, maybe it's all gonna start clicking. The most recent one was good. Maybe the good will keep going.
Okay. Let you keep that dream alive. I think
I'm
that'll
gonna believe it for as long as I can.
I think that'll do it for us.
I think so too.
We have a Discord server.
We do.
When I went on vacation, it has been a ghost town while I've been gone. But everyone should be on there. If you're somehow listening to this, which I've seen the statistics, there's like at least 35 of you who listen to this and are not on the Discord server. So fix that. Come join us. I want to hang out with you. All I need to do is get to know you for like 30 seconds, and I'm going to invite you on the show so you can come chat with us about stuff.
It's true. We invite everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been bad about it lately because my schedule's been so crazy that I felt rude. We've got about five. We've got about 5 first timers and some people that want to come back on that I've told like, hey soon, hey soon, hey soon. So we should be back to guest episodes soonish.
Yeah, as soon as we can kind of wrangle in our schedules, because mine's been crazy too. So
I just so everyone knows, I am knee deep in getting the house ready for twins. My wife is probably going off of work soon, so getting like accommodations for her to be able to rest because twin pregnancies are tough. She's only 28 weeks and she already has 5 pounds of baby in her, and then you've got 2 separate, goose sacks and all that stuff. So I want to make sure she's pampered. So that eats up a lot of time, and then you got getting the house ready for the twins and going to buying a van. So my life has been really hectic lately. So I have felt really bad about inviting people on, but I love our guest episodes. I feel like our chemistry just blows up and has so much fun when we have guests. So that should happen soon. I want to get, I want to get everybody that we've had back on, and I want to get new faces in here. So we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I also want to get to know you. So if you're not following us on Twitter, I'm starting to use Twitter more. Keegan has always been big on Twitter. If you're on TikTok, interact with us on there. Although I've definitely been ghosting TikTok lately just because I don't have time to make videos. I'm that Nerdy Papa Bear everywhere. Although I think my Twitter is just Nerdy Papa Bear because I think I couldn't fit into that. Keegan is Bulk Ranger everywhere. Make sure you like us. Review us on the Spotify. I want to get rid of that stupid, depressing, mean notice on Spotify that's like, hey, you're one of the first to review this show. Let's get rid of that disclaimer. Let's get on there and let's review us on the Spotify, please. Nothing else. Tell a friend. Hey, have you ever thought about reading the X-Men? Because these 2 dudes, they talk about it.
It's true.
And until next time, remember, friends don't let Bishop come up with the plans. What the fuck was that guy thinking? What the hell?
Yeah.